My Uber driver recognized me from a missing persons poster, but I've never been reported missing. I was heading to my job at the marketing firm on Tuesday morning when my Uber driver Marcus kept staring at me in the rearview mirror. After 5 minutes of increasingly awkward silence, he finally asked if my name was Sarah. I said yes, wondering how a random stranger knew my name. He pulled out his phone at a red light and showed me a missing person poster with my exact face on it. Same brown hair, same green eyes, same tiny scar on my chin from falling off my bike at age 8 when the training wheels got caught. But the name underneath the photo said Sarah Mitchell, not Sarah Davis like it should have been. This has been posted all over downtown for 3 weeks, Marcus said, his voice uncertain. The family's offering a $10,000 reward. I was about to call the number when I picked you up. I stared at the poster on his phone screen, my stomach dropping to my feet. That was definitely my face. Taken from an angle I didn't remember posing for, but I'd never been reported missing by anyone in my entire life. I'd been going to work every day, texting my mom every evening, hanging out with my roommate Emma on weekends. Nobody was looking for me because I wasn't lost. I asked Marcus where exactly he'd seen these posters. He said they were everywhere around the city, taped to coffee shop windows, stuck to bus stop shelters, posted at grocery store entrances. The family had apparently hired private investigators and was desperate to find their missing daughter. I took a screenshot of the poster and spent the rest of the 10-minute ride trying to make sense of what I was seeing. My hands were shaking as I typed the phone number into my contacts. At work, I immediately called the number from the poster, expecting maybe a wrong number or some kind of mistake. A woman answered on the first ring, her voice desperate and hopeful in a way that made my chest tight. "Did you find her? Did you find my daughter?" she asked before I could even speak. I carefully explained that I was Sarah and wasn't actually missing. I'd been living my normal life in Portland this whole time. There was a long, heavy pause on the line. Then she said that was completely impossible. Her daughter Sarah had been missing for 3 weeks. She'd vanished from their house on the east side without leaving any trace behind. "That's where I live too," I said, feeling more confused by the second. "I've been here the whole time. I think there might be some kind of mix-up with the photos." The woman, who said her name was Linda Mitchell, insisted I come to the police station immediately to sort this out. She sounded so absolutely convinced that I started questioning my own memory. Had I somehow forgotten being missing? I called my mom to double-check that I'd been texting her regularly, like always. She confirmed we'd talked every few days, normal conversations about work and family gossip. I called Emma, who confirmed I'd been sleeping in my own bed every single night for the past month. But Linda Mitchell was equally convinced her daughter had vanished completely. The police station was downtown, and I recognized the missing person posters immediately plastered on every bulletin board. My face was everywhere I looked, but with this other woman's last name printed underneath. Detective Rodriguez looked genuinely puzzled when I explained the bizarre situation to him. He called Linda Mitchell back, and she arrived within 20 minutes, practically running through the station doors. When she saw me sitting in the lobby chair, her face went completely white and she started crying uncontrollably. She kept saying, "That's my daughter," over and over while staring at me. But she also seemed terrified rather than relieved. "You look exactly like her," she whispered, her voice shaking. "But you're not her. Sarah would never dress like that. Sarah would never cut her hair that short. Sarah hates that color green." Detective Rodriguez took several photos of me standing next to the missing person poster. The resemblance was impossible to ignore or explain away, but he seemed more puzzled than suspicious. He asked if I had any siblings or any family in Portland I didn't know about. I told him no, that my parents had always said I was an only child. But Linda Mitchell's expression changed dramatically when she heard that, and she asked the detective if she could speak to him privately for a moment. They talked in hushed, urgent voices for 10 minutes while I sat in the waiting area, staring at my reflection in the window and trying to understand what was happening. When they came back, Detective Rodriguez had this strange, careful look on his face. "Sarah," he said slowly, "we need to ask you some questions about your birth certificate and any adoption records your parents might have." That's when I realized I'd never seen my birth certificate, and my parents had always been strangely vague about my early childhood and where exactly I came from. And that's when I discovered the truth about why there were 2 of us. "I need to ask you a few questions about your DNA," Detective Rodriguez says carefully, his pen tapping against his notepad. I'm sitting in a small interview room at the Portland Police Department, the walls a drab beige that somehow makes everything feel more serious. Linda Mitchell has been escorted to a waiting area, but I can still feel the weight of her stare lingering on my skin. "My DNA? We'd like your permission to run a comparative analysis," he explains, "between you and Sarah Mitchell." I nod slowly, still struggling to process everything. "Of course, if it helps figure out why we look identical." The next 48 hours pass in a blur. I give a cheek swab, go back to work in a daze, and try to explain to Emma why I suddenly can't focus on anything. I tell her about the missing person poster, about meeting Linda Mitchell, about the woman who looks exactly like me but apparently hates the color green, Emma listens with wide eyes and suggests maybe I have a doppelganger or a long-lost cousin. Maybe you're in one of those twin studies, she jokes over dinner, you know, where they separate twins at birth for science. I laugh it off, but the comment sits uneasily in my stomach. When Detective Rodriguez calls me back to the station 2 days later, his expression tells me everything before he says a word. Linda Mitchell is there too, sitting stiffly in a chair, her hands clasped so tightly her knuckles are white. The results came back, he says, sliding a folder across the table. It's a 100% match. You and Sarah Mitchell are genetically identical. The room seems to tilt sideways. That's impossible, I whisper. But I know it isn't. Deep down, I think I've known since the moment I saw that poster. Identical twins? Linda Mitchell says, her voice hollow. We had identical twin girls, but I struggle to form the question. If we're twins, why didn't I know about her? Why didn't you keep both of us? Linda's eyes fill with tears. We didn't give you up. You were taken. Detective Rodriguez clears his throat. Mrs. Mitchell, perhaps we should start at the beginning. Linda nods, dabbing at her eyes with a crumpled tissue. My husband and I had twins 32 years ago. Sarah and... She looks at me. You. But there were complications during the birth. The doctor told us one of the babies didn't make it. We were devastated, but we had Sarah to focus on. We never knew. We never suspected. You're saying someone told you I died at birth? My voice sounds strange to my own ears. Yes, Linda whispers. Dr. Weiss, our obstetrician, showed us a death certificate. We never saw your body. He said it would be too traumatic. Detective Rodriguez takes over. Mrs. Davis, Sarah, we believe you were illegally separated from your birth family and placed for adoption. Your DNA matching in our system is what flagged this case. When Sarah Mitchell was reported missing, her DNA profile was entered into our database. My hands are shaking. So, my parents, the people who raised me, and we need to speak with them, Detective Rodriguez says gently. They may have information critical to finding Sarah Mitchell. I pull out my phone with numb fingers and call my mother. She answers on the third ring, her voice cheerful. Sarah? Is everything okay? You usually text. Mom, I say, my voice breaking. I need to ask you something important. Was I adopted? The silence that follows is answer enough. When she finally speaks, her voice is small and frightened. Who have you been talking to? I'm at the police station, I tell her, watching Detective Rodriguez's expression sharpen. They found my identical twin sister, the one you never told me about. My mother starts to cry. Not gentle tears, but racking sobs that make it hard to understand her words. We wanted to tell you. We always meant to tell you, but we were afraid. Afraid of what? I demand, anger cutting through my shock. Afraid you'd be taken away from us. She manages between sobs. We didn't go through an agency. We paid a private broker, a lot of money. We were desperate for a baby, had tried for years. He said you were unwanted, that your mother couldn't care for twins. We believed him. Detective Rodriguez gently takes the phone from my trembling hand. Mrs. Davis? This is Detective Rodriguez with Portland PD. I need to ask you about the broker who arranged your daughter's adoption. He puts the phone on speaker so I can hear. His name was Harold? My mother whispers. Dr. Harold Weiss. He was delivering babies at Portland Memorial back then. He told us it was a gray area legally, but that the birth mother had signed away her rights. We wanted a child so badly. We didn't ask enough questions. Linda Mitchell gasps, her hand flying to her mouth. Weiss? Our Dr. Weiss? My entire identity is collapsing around me. 32 years of lies. The parents I trusted completely bought me on the black market. I have a twin sister I never knew existed. And now that sister is missing. We believe Sarah Mitchell's disappearance may be connected to this situation, Detective Rodriguez says carefully. Did Dr. Weiss maintain contact with your family over the years? My mother's voice is barely audible. He checks in occasionally. He's been a family friend. He was at Sarah's college graduation. The realization hits me like a physical blow. My sister wasn't just missing. Someone had taken her, just like I had been taken as an infant. And the person responsible might be the same man who had separated us in the first place. Mrs. Davis, Detective Rodriguez says, his tone deadly serious. I need you and your husband to come to the Portland Police Department immediately. Your daughter's life may depend on it. As he ends the call, I look up at Linda Mitchell, my birth mother, and see my own green eyes staring back at me, filled with the same terrified realization. He has her, doesn't he? She whispers. The man who stole you has taken Sarah too. I call Emma as soon as I leave the police station. My mind still reeling from everything I've learned. My entire life has been a lie constructed by desperate people and a corrupt doctor. I need something familiar, something real to cling to. You're not going to believe this, I say when she answers. My voice sounds strange even to me. Try me, Emma says. After you left this morning looking like you'd seen a ghost, I'm prepared for anything. I take a deep breath. I have an identical twin sister. The missing woman on the poster, Sarah Mitchell, we're literally the same person, genetically identical. Emma's silence lasts several seconds. Holy shit, she finally manages. Are you serious? That's insane. It gets worse. I continue, ducking into a coffee shop to escape the light rain that started. My parents bought me illegally. I was stolen at birth. The Mitchells were told I died. Wait, Emma interrupts. Your parents? The ones who text you every day? They knew about this? Apparently. All these years. I trail off. The betrayal's still too fresh to fully process. Sarah, this is crazy. But I need to ask, you've been home every night for the past month, right? You've been sleeping in your bed, eating breakfast with me, complaining about your boss. You haven't been missing for 3 weeks. I almost laugh at the absurdity. No, Emma. I've been me, living my normal life while somewhere out there, my identical twin sister disappeared. Just checking, Emma says, because this is some serious Lifetime movie stuff. Detective Rodriguez calls later that evening. They found Sarah Mitchell's car abandoned in a parking garage on the east side of the city. There's blood inside, not a lot, but enough to worry them. When I ask if it matches my blood type, his silence tells me everything. We'd like you to speak with Mrs. Mitchell again, he says finally. There might be details about Sarah's life that could help us understand what happened. That's how I end up standing on Linda Mitchell's doorstep the next morning, a small overnight bag in hand. She opens the door and for a moment just stares at me, her eyes filling with tears. You look so much like her, she whispers. Please come in. The house is warm and lived in, with family photos covering nearly every surface. I find myself drawn to them, studying the images of the life I might have had. In every picture, Sarah Mitchell smiles back at me with my own face, surrounded by people I've never met. I thought maybe I could stay a few days, I say hesitantly, if that's okay. Detective Rodriguez thought it might help if we talked more. Linda nods, leading me to a bedroom that clearly belongs to her missing daughter. This is Sarah's room. She hasn't lived here full-time since college, but she stays over sometimes when she's working late. I set my bag down carefully, feeling like an intruder. What kind of work does she do? She's an investigative journalist, Linda says with unmistakable pride. Focuses on crime and corruption stories. She's fearless, maybe too fearless sometimes. That night, after Linda goes to bed, I explore Sarah's room more thoroughly. Her closet is full of clothes similar to mine. Though Detective Rodriguez was right, she seems to avoid the color green that dominates my wardrobe. When I roll up my sleeve to check my birthmark, a small, coffee-colored oval on my inner elbow, I find a photo of Sarah with the exact same mark in the exact same place. In her nightstand drawer, I find a journal bound in worn leather. I hesitate, feeling guilty. But my need to understand my sister overrides my concern about privacy. I open it and begin to read. The entries start from about 6 months ago. Early pages detail ordinary life work frustrations, friend drama, a bad date with someone named Chris. But about 3 months ago, the tone changes dramatically. Someone followed me home again today, she wrote. 3rd time this week. Always the same dark sedan, always keeping just far enough back that I can't make out the driver. Called the police. But by the time they arrived, the car was gone. I flip forward, my heart racing. Found another note on my windshield today. Stop digging or you'll be buried. Charming. Whatever I'm onto with this baby trafficking story has someone seriously spooked. My hands shake as I turn to the next page. DNA results came back from that ancestry site. I have an identical twin sister somewhere out there. Parents swear they only had one baby. Birth certificate only shows one baby. Someone is lying, and I think it's connected to everything else. Dr. Weiss delivered me, he's still alive, retired now, going to pay him a visit tomorrow. The final entry, dated just before her disappearance, makes my blood run cold. I found her, my sister. Her name is Sarah too, Sarah Davis. Lives right here in Portland. Been watching her from a distance, trying to figure out how to approach her. She has no idea who she really is or what was stolen from her. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell her everything. But she never got the chance, because the next day, Sarah Mitchell disappeared. I'm still holding the journal when I hear a crash downstairs. Linda calls out in alarm, and I rush down to find her standing in the kitchen doorway, glass shattered at her feet. The back door is wide open, swinging in the night breeze. Someone was in here, she whispers. I heard them. We call the police, who arrive within minutes. They search the house and yard but find no one. It's only when Linda checks Sarah's home office that we realize what's missing: her laptop and all her research files on the baby trafficking investigation. As I help Linda clean up the broken glass, Detective Rodriguez pulls me aside. We need to move quickly, he says, his expression grim. Whoever has your sister knows you exist now, and they know you're looking for her. I glance at Linda, who's methodically sweeping tiny glass fragments into a dustpan, her hands trembling slightly. What do we do? I ask. We use the connection between you, he says. Twins sometimes have insights others don't. You've read her journal now. You've seen her room, her life. What would Sarah Mitchell do next? I think about the woman I'm only beginning to know through her writings and possessions. My sister. My twin. The other half of me I never knew existed. She'd go straight to the source, I say finally. She'd confront Dr. Weiss. I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I see Sarah's journal entries floating in my mind, each word a neon accusation. Someone broke into Linda's house to steal research about baby trafficking research that might lead directly to my sister. At 6 a.m., I give up on sleep and head downstairs. Linda's already in the kitchen, nursing a cup of coffee, dark circles under her eyes that match my own. Detective Rodriguez called, she says without preamble. They've identified a suspect. My heart races. Who? Dr. Harold Weiss. She says the name like it's poisonous. The obstetrician who delivered you both. The man who told us you had died. The name hits me like a physical blow. Dr. Weiss. I know that name. I've heard it my entire life. Dr. Weiss is my parents' friend, I whisper. He comes to Christmas dinner every year. He sent me a card when I graduated college. Linda's mug crashes to the floor, coffee splashing across the tile. What? Her voice is barely audible. He's been in my life this whole time. I continue, the horror of it washing over me. My mom always called him our dear family friend. He was at my high school graduation. I stop suddenly, a memory surfacing. He used to joke that he'd known me since before I was born. Detective Rodriguez arrives 30 minutes later, his face grim as I tell him about my connection to Weiss. He spreads photographs across Linda's dining room table, surveillance images of an elderly man with white hair and wire-rimmed glasses. Dr. Harold Weiss, 72 years old, retired from Portland Memorial 15 years ago. We've been looking into his background since your mother mentioned him yesterday. Rodriguez taps one of the photos. He delivered hundreds of babies in this city, including you and Sarah Mitchell. And he stole one of us, Linda says, her voice tight with anger. We believe he did more than that. Rodriguez continues. We've identified at least 12 other cases of twins separated at birth in the Portland area during his tenure at the hospital. All with similar stories, one twin reported as stillborn, the other placed with a family who paid cash for a private adoption. He's been running a baby trafficking operation for decades, I say, the pieces falling into place, and Sarah figured it out. Rodriguez nods. Your sister was investigating a story about black market adoptions. She traced several cases back to Portland Memorial during the years Weiss practiced there. According to her editor, she was close to breaking it open when she disappeared. And now he has her, Linda says, her hand covering her mouth. We think so, Rodriguez confirms. But we don't have enough evidence for a warrant yet. Weiss has a spotless reputation in the community. Respected doctor, philanthropist, board member at 3 hospitals. What about the break-in here? I ask. The stolen research? No fingerprints, no witnesses. We need something concrete to connect him to Sarah's disappearance. I meet his eyes across the table. You need me. Rodriguez doesn't deny it. The connection between you and Weiss could give us an opening. If you're willing. You want to use me as bait, I say. Not a question. We want you to wear a wire and talk to your mother about Weiss. Find out what she knows about his involvement in your adoption. Linda reaches for my hand. It's dangerous. So is doing nothing while he has my sister, I counter. 2 hours later, I'm sitting in my parents' living room, a nearly invisible wire taped to my chest beneath my shirt. My mother sits across from me, her eyes red and swollen from crying. My father is at the police station, answering questions about the illegal adoption. I need to know everything about Dr. Weiss, I say, my voice steadier than I feel. How did you meet him? What exactly did he tell you about me? Mom twists her wedding ring nervously. We'd been trying to have a baby for years. Multiple miscarriages, failed IVF treatments. We were desperate. She wipes away a tear. A friend referred us to Dr. Weiss. Said he sometimes helped couples find babies through alternative channels. And you didn't question that? We were told you were one of twins, that the birth mother couldn't handle 2 babies and wanted one placed privately. She looks up at me, pleading. We believed him, Sarah. We wanted so badly to believe him. And the payments? You just handed cash to a doctor for a baby? She flinches. It wasn't presented that way. There were administrative fees, legal costs. We thought we were covering legitimate expenses. When did you realize it wasn't legitimate? Mom's shoulders slump. When you were about 2 years old, Dr. Weiss came to the house. He said there had been complications with your adoption paperwork, that he needed more money to ensure everything stayed quiet. That's when we understood what we'd done. He blackmailed you, I say flatly. She nods. Every few years, he'd contact us. Always so polite, so concerned about our beautiful daughter, always needing money for some new complication. And you kept paying him? We were afraid of losing you, she whispers, afraid of going to jail, afraid you'd find out the truth and hate us. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. I glance down, then freeze. I know who you are, Sarah Mitchell. Stop pretending to be someone else. Meet me at the old Portland Heights Clinic tomorrow at 8 p.m. if you want answers about your past. Come alone or your sister dies. I show the text to Detective Rodriguez when he arrives to retrieve the wire recording. His expression darkens. Portland Heights Clinic, he says. It's been abandoned for years. Weiss owned it before it shut down. The clinic where we were born, I realize. He thinks you're Sarah Mitchell pretending to be Sarah Davis to hide from him, Rodriguez says. This is our chance. The next evening, I'm sitting in an unmarked police van, 3 blocks from the abandoned clinic. Officers are positioned around the perimeter, hidden from view. I'm wearing a bulletproof vest under my shirt and a more sophisticated wire than before. Remember, we'll be monitoring everything, Rodriguez says, checking my wire one last time. Don't take any unnecessary risks. Your job is to keep him talking until we can move in. I nod, my mouth too dry to speak. We believe Sarah Mitchell is being held somewhere in that building, he continues, but your safety comes first. If anything feels wrong, you get out immediately. The clinic looms ahead, a 3-story brick building with boarded windows and faded medical symbols on the facade. As I approach the main entrance, I notice a side door slightly ajar. My heart hammers against my ribs as I slip inside. The interior is dark and musty, medical equipment draped in sheets like ghosts. My flashlight beam cuts through the darkness, illuminating peeling paint and abandoned examination rooms. I follow a corridor toward what was once the reception area. Dr. Weiss? I call out, my voice echoing. I'm here. In the basement, Sarah. His voice floats up from somewhere below. I find the stairwell and descend carefully, each step creaking beneath my weight. The basement is even darker, the air thick and damp. My flashlight reveals old birthing rooms, equipment still in place as if waiting for patients who never arrived. You're very clever, Weiss says, stepping from the shadows. He looks exactly like his photos, tall, thin, with neatly combed white hair and those wire-rimmed glasses, but not clever enough. Where's my sister? I demand. He smiles, the expression never reaching his eyes. You mean your twin? The one you're pretending not to be? I'm not pretending anything. I'm Sarah Davis. You stole me from my mother 32 years ago and sold me to a desperate couple. His smile falters slightly. That's impossible. DNA doesn't lie, Dr. Weiss. The police know everything. He studies me carefully, then laughs a cold clinical sound. Twins. Of course. I should have realized when I saw you both together. My blood freezes. You've seen us together? I followed Sarah Mitchell for weeks before I took her. I saw her watching you, following you. I assumed she was disguising herself, playing some kind of game. He shakes his head. But there were 2 of you all along. How fascinating. Where is she? I ask again. Weiss gestures toward a door at the end of the hallway. She's quite safe, for now. I step toward the door, but Weiss blocks my path. Not so fast. We need to discuss what happens next. What happens next is you go to prison for kidnapping, child trafficking, and fraud. He laughs again. No, I don't think so. You see, I've built a very respectable life. Board positions, charity work, political connections. Who would believe I sold babies on the black market? The 12 sets of twins you separated would believe it, I say, watching his expression falter. Sarah found them all. She has proof. A noise from behind the door draws both our attention, a muffled thump, then silence. She's quite determined, your sister, Weiss says. Just like you. I hear Rodriguez's voice in my earpiece. We're moving in. Keep him talking 30 more seconds. Why did you do it? I ask, stalling. Why separate twins? Money, of course. 2 identical babies, twice the profit. 1 to the biological parents, 1 to the highest bidder. His voice takes on a lecturing tone. Do you know how much desperate couples will pay for a healthy white infant? Especially one with no traceable history? The sound of breaking glass echoes from above, followed by shouts. Weiss's head snaps up, his face contorting with rage. You brought the police, he snarls, lunging toward me. Before he can reach me, the door behind him bursts open. Officers flood the basement, weapons drawn. Weiss freezes, then slowly raises his hands. As they handcuff him, I rush past toward the room he guarded. Inside, tied to a hospital bed but very much alive, is Sarah Mitchell, my face staring back at me, eyes wide with recognition. I found you, she whispers as I untie her restraints. I knew I would. I'm sitting by Sarah Mitchell's hospital bed, watching her sleep. The doctors say she's dehydrated and has some bruising from being restrained, but otherwise physically unharmed. Psychologically is another story. We both have a lot to process. Detective Rodriguez knocks softly on the doorframe before entering. How is she? He asks, his voice low. Sleeping finally, I say. The nurse gave her something. He pulls up a chair beside me. We've got Weiss in custody. He's not talking yet, but his accomplices are singing like birds. He flips open his notebook. 4 other doctors and nurses who helped falsify death certificates and arrange the illegal adoptions. They've confirmed at least 27 cases of separated twins over 3 decades. I shake my head, trying to absorb the magnitude of it. 27 families torn apart. 27 that we know of, Rodriguez corrects. There could be more. Sarah stirs in her sleep, my face contorting briefly, before relaxing again. The bruise on her cheek stands out against her pale skin, a reminder of what Weiss did to her when she got too close to exposing him. He kidnapped her because she figured it out, didn't he? Rodriguez nods. According to what we've pieced together, Sarah's investigation into baby trafficking led her to Ancestry DNA sites. She found genetic matches that didn't make sense, identical twins who didn't know each other existed. When she traced the birth records back, She found Portland Memorial as the common denominator. And Dr. Weiss. Yes, she confronted him, pretending to be working on a general story about medical ethics. But Weiss got suspicious when she asked too many specific questions about twin births in the 80 seconds and 90 seconds. Then she found me, I say quietly. She'd been watching you for weeks, trying to figure out how to approach you. When Weiss realized she'd made the connection, he panicked. I think about the journal entries, the dark sedan following her, the threatening notes. He was going to kill her, wasn't he? Rodriguez doesn't sugarcoat it. Eventually, yes. Once he got all the information about her research and who else knew about it. The door opens again, and Linda Mitchell enters, carrying 2 cups of coffee. She hands one to me and keeps the other, her hands trembling slightly. Any news about my husband? She asks Rodriguez. He's on his way from the airport now, he confirms. His flight just landed. Linda nods, then looks at me. How are you holding up? It's a complicated question. 3 days ago, I was Sarah Davis, marketing specialist with normal parents and a perfectly ordinary life. Now I'm the victim of a baby trafficking ring, separated from my twin sister and biological family for 32 years. I'm processing, is all I can manage. Linda reaches out hesitantly, then places her hand over mine. I know this is overwhelming, for all of us. Sarah's eyes flutter open, focusing first on me, then on her mother. Mom? Her voice is raspy. Linda moves to her side immediately. I'm here, sweetheart. You're safe now. Sarah's gaze returns to me. You found me. Actually, you found me first, I say with a small smile. I just returned the favor. 3 days later, I'm sitting in another sterile room, this time at the courthouse. My parents, the people I've called mom and dad my entire life, are being arraigned on charges related to knowingly purchasing a stolen child. The prosecutor has indicated she'll recommend probation rather than jail time due to their cooperation, but they'll have a felony record regardless. I can't bring myself to look at them when they're let in. The betrayal is still too fresh, too painful. You don't have to be here, Sarah says beside me. She was released from the hospital yesterday and insisted on coming with me today. No one would blame you for skipping this part. I need to see it. I tell her, I need it to be real. She nods, understanding completely in that uncanny way we've developed in just a few days. It's not quite the twin telepathy people joke about, but there's something there, an intuitive connection that feels both foreign and deeply familiar. When the judge asks how they plead, my mother's voice breaks as she says, guilty. My father follows suit, his shoulders slumped in defeat. I feel tears running down my cheeks but make no move to wipe them away. They loved you, Sarah says quietly. That part wasn't a lie. I know, I whisper. That's what makes it so hard. Later that evening, Linda Mitchell's house is crowded with people I'm just beginning to know. My biological father, Robert Mitchell, arrived from his business trip in Tokyo yesterday. He looks at me with wonder every time our paths cross, as if he can't quite believe I'm real. We need to talk about what happens next. Linda says once we've all gathered in the living room. Sarah, both Sarahs have been through a traumatic experience. We need to give them time and space to heal. I'm going back to work next week, Sarah announces. I have a story to write, the biggest of my career. Detective Rodriguez, who stopped by to update us on the case, shakes his head. You're still a victim and a witness in an ongoing investigation. Publishing details could compromise the case. I'm not talking about Weiss, Sarah clarifies. I'm talking about the twins, the other 26 cases. Those families deserve to know the truth. 27 now, Rodriguez corrects. We identified another case this morning. I look around at these people who are technically my family but still feel like strangers. I need to figure out who I am now. Everything I thought I knew about myself was built on lies. Linda reaches for my hand. You're still you. That hasn't changed. But it has, I insist. I'm not just Sarah Davis anymore. I'm also part of this family. Linda's eyes fill with tears. You always were. We just didn't know it. 2 months later, I'm standing in front of a judge again, but for a very different reason. Linda Mitchell smiles at me from across the courtroom as the judge signs the papers. Congratulations, she says. It's official. At 32 years old, I've been legally adopted by my biological mother. It's unusual, the judge noted, but given the extraordinary circumstances, entirely appropriate. Thank you, I say, looking down at my new driver's license. It reads Sarah Davis Mitchell, now a hyphenated identity that feels right. I couldn't completely let go of the name I'd had my entire life, but I needed to acknowledge my Mitchell heritage too. Outside the courthouse, Sarah is waiting with her laptop open. They found another set, she tells me excitedly. Twin sisters in Seattle. One thought the other died at birth. In the weeks since Weiss's arrest, Sarah has been working with the FBI to identify and contact the other victims of his baby trafficking operation. So far, 15 sets of twins have been reunited, with more cases being investigated every day. Are you ready for tomorrow? She asks as we walk to her car. Tomorrow is the grand opening of our new office, Mitchell & Mitchell Investigations. specializing in finding missing persons and reuniting separated families. Sarah's journalism background and my marketing experience make us surprisingly complementary business partners. As ready as I'll ever be, I reply. Emma's coming to the opening, by the way. She's bringing champagne. Marcus, too, Sarah adds. He says he wants to meet the twin of the woman whose face on a missing poster changed everything. I laugh, remembering the Uber ride that started this whole journey. If he hadn't recognized you from that poster, I might still be in Weiss's basement, Sarah finishes soberly. We drive in silence for a while, each lost in our own thoughts. The past few months have been a roller coaster of emotions: grief for the life I thought I had, anger at the deception, confusion about my identity, and gradually, acceptance and even joy in discovering my twin and biological family. Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we'd grown up together? I ask as we pull into Linda's driveway. We're having a family dinner tonight, something that's become a weekly tradition. Sarah considers this sometimes, but then I remember that everything that made us who we are, all our experiences, choices, struggles, they made us the people who could find each other again. Who could bring down Weiss and his operation? Twins separated by crime, I muse. Reunited by identical DNA, she continues, and determination. We finished together, then burst out laughing at our synchronized response. As we walk toward the house where both of us belong now, I feel a sense of completion I never knew was missing. My identity crisis isn't over. I still have moments of profound disorientation when I look in the mirror and see the face that's on both my driver's licenses. But for the first time since Marcus showed me that missing person poster, I feel like I know who I am. I am Sarah Davis Mitchell. I have my mother's green eyes and my father's stubborn chin. I have a twin sister who completes sentences. I start. I have a past built on lies and a future founded on truth. I was stolen, found, lost, and found again. And now, finally, I am home.